People tell us, as Christian guys, purity is real difficult because we think you're just not supposed to think about sex. Oh, do you think a lot about sex? Yeah, well, we'll try not to think about sex if you think about sex. What? Yeah, try not to think about it if you think. Oh, thanks, that's helpful. Yeah, I mean, that's like me telling you guys now, don't think about an elephant right now, okay? If you are thinking about an elephant now, come on, it's not funny. Quit thinking about an elephant, yeah? What did you think about? Elephant, yeah, how's that working for you? No, it doesn't work. You try with your sexuality, you'll go neurotic, you'll go nuts. What's needed is not the annihilation of my desires. What's needed is the perfection, the redemption of our desires. Because it can happen. God has done it for people. You know, the Catholic Church has a saint who spent all his money on prostitutes. This guy's name is Saint Vitalis of Gaza. He was a monk in Israel, heard about the prostitution problem in Alexandria, Egypt. And so he walks there in his white robe. They said he showed up like a ghost in the desert. And he got a list of where the address was of every prostitute in this great city of Alexandria. And one by one, he got a job as a day laborer. And at the end of every day, he would take his wages to a different prostitute's house. And he would pay her to spend the entire night with him and nobody else. But instead of using these girls, he brought them the gospel. He prayed with them, he prayed for them, and paid him his entire daily wage so they would not sin for just one night. And he converted a massive number of prostitutes who became holy wives and holy mothers. And one day, he was coming out of a brothel, the house of prostitution, and a man saw him, recognized him as a Christian, was so disgusted with his hypocrisy, smacked him over the head with something, and killed him. And St. Vitalis hobbled back to the little hut where he lived, and he died. And they found his body. He was praying, they could tell, as he died. And when they went to bury him, one by one, the former prostitutes started coming out of hiding, explaining what he had done for them. And all of these former prostitutes processed with candles and lanterns behind his body all the way to the grave. This man could be in the presence of such temptation, but see a girl's dignity, even though she had totally forgotten it. This is the redemption of the desires. Pope John Paul II said this to us men. Each man must look within his own heart to see if she who has been entrusted to him as a sister in humanity has not in his heart become an object of adultery. And so we think, well, what am I supposed to do when I see a beautiful woman? How am I supposed to react to that? What I would recommend, you don't need to have this neurotic attitude. I can't look at that. Sex is bad, sex is dirty, poo-poo, poo-poo. And no, that's not healthy. You're looking for a beautiful woman, first reaction, gratitude, praise to God. There's a psalm, Psalm 84 in the Old Testament. How lovely is your dwelling place, Lord mighty God. I challenge you men, when you see a beautiful woman, say that psalm in your head. How lovely is your dwelling place, Lord mighty God. Every woman in this room is a temple of the Holy Spirit. She is the dwelling place of God. And you can rightly praise the Creator for the beauty that He has given to her. If you have these desires towards these women, it's natural, it's healthy, it's normal. Women are beautiful. You ever understand? Women are the most beautiful thing on earth that God has ever created. This is true. You girls might doubt that at times, but the fact is, it's true. God created nothing more beautiful here on earth. I mean, what do guys get addicted to looking on the internet? Flamingos? Waterfalls? Oh man, my boss caught me looking at pictures of sunsets on the internet. I'm so embarrassed. Oh man, I know. My mom found this hidden file of folders on my computer, all these pictures of my favorite rainbows. I feel so ashamed. No. Yeah, it's all beautiful. But it all pales in comparison to the beauty of the woman. You read the book of Genesis, the creation of the woman is depicted as the crescendo of creation, God's crowning moment of creation, the creation of the woman. When Adam first sees Eve, he says, whoa, man. That's where we get the word woman from, I think, like from the Hebrew, whoa, man. And he sees her, and there's this awe in his voice. It's kind of funny, because when Eve sees Adam, she's like, that's nice. But when Adam sees Eve, there's this awe about her. And so the beauty that she possesses, it's an invitation. But an invitation to what? Because of original sin, sometimes we see it as an invitation to lust instead of an invitation to love. When Christ became man here on earth, He would always point us back to the beginning. In the beginning, He said, there's lust. It was not so. And Pope John Paul II has given us a treasure called the Theology of the Body. How many of you are familiar with that? I can't see you, so scream. Okay, great. So this thing, the riches of this are, it's amazing, the gift that he's given to us. And John Paul II often points back to Adam and how he related to Eve. That when Adam first saw Eve's body, they were naked, there was no shame. They weren't shameless because they're like naked 2-year-olds in a bathroom. Oh, I didn't even know I was naked. It wasn't the reason that they didn't realize that each other's bodies were there. The reason there was no shame is because John Paul II says there was original innocence. Adam could look upon the body of Eve and see in her body the goodness she possessed. See in her body his call to love her as God loves him. A love free, total, faithful, and life-giving. Now, with original sin, that call to love got warped. But when God became man, the whole theme of this conference, he does not simply, in becoming Christ, reveal God to us. He reveals us to ourselves. For you men, what is stamped in your body but you're called to love? What is apparent in a man's body? First thing you would see in a man's body, strength. You immediately see the man possesses a unique strength. But when original sin taints our strength, instead of using that strength to serve, using that strength to conquer myself for the sake of a woman, I conquer the woman for the sake of myself. Also stamped in a man's body is we're the ones to initiate the gift of life, to initiate the gift of love to the woman. What happens with original sin? We don't initiate love, we initiate lust, or we initiate nothing. We become pansies when it comes to relationships and commitment. The fact is, I remember the best homily I ever heard in my life. Steubenville, I was a freshman or sophomore. A priest gets up there. It's a whole campus mass, 1,000 or 2,000 students. And he says, young women, raise your hand if a man here, a gentleman here on campus, another student, asked you out on a date this week. 5 or 6 girls put their hand up, as would be the case in any college campus in America. And then the priest spent the rest of the homily drilling into the guys for failing to initiate loving relationships. All the girls like, preach on, Father, hallelujah. Yeah. Can I have a witness? Yeah. But you know what? The girls loved them for it. And you know what? So did we. Finally, someone give us a little smack with a smile and say, step up, initiate love. There's a commercial running right now for this. It's a beer commercial for Dos Equis beer. I don't know if you see it. It's just like this grandpa guy, and he always gives, it's pretty creepy. You know, he's always sitting with like these models. He's like 65, so he asked me, it's kind of creepy. But he's sitting there, and he always gives these little proverbs in this deep, gnarly voice. He's like, stay thirsty, my friends. You know, I don't know if you've seen it. And now, I don't want to like look like I'm endorsing a beer commercial. That's not going to look good on my endorsements here, you know, evaluations. But he says something on this commercial I saw last week on SportsCenter, just during a commercial break. All he says is this. He says, it doesn't take 2 people to talk to one woman. That's all he says. I loved it because it's this call stamped on us to have guts and go initiate love. One priest said this regarding guys thinking about a marriage proposal. He says this, a man should act decisively. Don't be an indecisive wimp. Trust in God and pop the question. This type of nudge to love is what we need as guys. And so, this is though, but this call to initiate love that's stamped in our body, it gets tainted by original sin. There's also stamped in a man's body the gift to initiate the gift of life. But we don't do that. We are afraid of life. We're afraid the gift of our bodies would cause life. We live in fear of pregnancy. So we invent all these drugs to give to the women to make them sexually available for us so I can take my pleasure without taking my responsibility. And the stuff they're inventing is crazy. There's one that came out a while ago for you girls called Implanon. It's a plastic stick about this long. It's real thin like a matchstick. They just cut the girl's arm open, slide it under your skin, sew your skin shut, and it sinks hormones into your beautiful body for 3 years so you don't get pregnant. And if you're interested in that, I've got the information that comes with the drug. And it says, ladies on Implanon, call your doctor right away. If you start coughing up blood, you go completely blind or unconscious. Like, what? It's like, how is she supposed to make the phone calls? Like, has anyone seen my cell phone around here? And I went, seriously, though, coughing up blood? Well, what was so wrong with her fertility in the first place? You got to subdue her with all these sex hormones. I mean, your fertility is a gift. You know, but we live in fear of it. One guy came up after the talk, and he's like, man, I wish I heard your talk 3 weeks ago. I go, why is that? He goes, I found out today I got this girl pregnant. Okay, what's the situation? What's going on? He goes, you know the real problem here? He goes, I hate this girl. I go, you hate her? He said, I hate her. I go, why were you with her in the first place if you hated her? He said, honestly, she kept bugging me to have sex with her. I wanted to get her off my back, so I did it with her. Now she's pregnant, wants to abort the kid. I don't know what to do. I don't believe in abortion, but she wouldn't be a good mom anyway. She can't even clean her own room. And I'm like, oh, like 1 minute, he's having a beer thinking he's hooking up with a girl, but that boy is toying with the very well springs of human life, lives in fear of his own fatherhood. In the beginning, it was not so. Fatherhood, I've discovered, is the greatest gift on earth. No joy I've ever experienced is like being a dad. I mean, it's incredible. The other day, a couple months ago, several months ago, my wife said to me, honey, I got kickboxing this morning. Can you watch the kids? I'm like, yeah, sure, go have fun. So she goes, and I've got the 3 kids myself. And I got a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old. I look down, my kids, mom's gone. Let's go upstairs. WrestleMania. And they're like, yeah. And so I run upstairs. Now we got this huge king-size bed. So I'm like, ding, 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 let's go at it. It's like mixed martial arts or ultimate fighting, but you can do like wedgies and wet willies and stuff. And so I'm just dumping them. There's like drool flying through the air. There's like soggy diapers getting hurled. And I'm just slamming on them because I'm undefeated. And it's awesome. It's like, and you just go at it until someone gets a fat lip or concussion on the end table, and then you go downstairs and eat cookie dough. But like, this is fatherhood. I mean, the other day, the San Diego County Fair was in town. I'm like, oh, honey, let's take the kids. They'd have so much fun. So I go to the fair, and they've got all these booths selling all this weird garbage, and someone is selling Mexican wrestling masks for children. I'm like, yes, yes. And I go there, and she's like, honey, my wife is like, honey, you are not buying our children a Mexican wrestling mask. I'm like, yes, we can give them names, Los Banditos Pequeños, and we shall wrestle together. And so I got them these just incredible little Mexican wrestling masks. Like, this is fatherhood. I mean, this is the gift. Pope John Paul II, before he became Pope, did a homily, a retreat for college students. And they transcribed his homily for the men and women. And to the men, he said this: God, who is Father, who is created, planted a reflection of his creative strength and power within man. We should sing hymns of praise to God, the Creator, for this reflection of himself in us, not only in our souls, but also in our bodies.